Je me souviens quand j'étais petit,
You are about to enter a world of imagination. A world where battles will fart. On hex maps and grids, whether virtually or in person. Dice are cast, swords are clashed, and even a little ingenuity can lead to solving a lot of puzzles. From power gamers to role players, all are welcome here. Hell, even 4th edition has a seat at the table. Maybe not this one. But Magic the Gathering, get that shit out of here. So with dice in hand and a heart full of adventure, I'd like to welcome you all to this polyhedral paradise. What is going on, everybody? Happy Thursday night. It is so good to be here. 8:30 on a Thursday. I can't think of anywhere else I'd rather be. Tonight is going to be an interesting one. Maybe a little long-winded for some people, but I've got some stuff to talk about tonight. First, let me say hi to Callista. Good to see you. Good to see you, Callista. Thank you so very much for coming. Seems like the chat's not coming up, but that's okay. That's okay if the chat doesn't show up on screen. I'm not worried about it. We're not going to spend too much time worrying about what's not working, and we're just going to concentrate on what is. So, tonight, we're going to take a look at the Dungeon Alchemist update. Dungeon Alchemist, my new favorite AI map-making software, has brought us a new update. More town-centric stuff. Oh, by the way, copper. Drinking out of copper. If you ever get a chance to drink out of copper, please do. Copper's fantastic. Delicious. So we're going to take a look at that. We are going to take a look at the... Let me turn my phone off here. Sorry. We're going to take a look at the 2nd edition Book of Artifacts. Oops, sorry. This is something I really should have taken care of before the stream started. Sorry about that. We're going to take a look at the second edition Book of Artifacts, written by David Zeb Cook. It is a fantastic book filled with wondrous items. We're going to peruse that a little bit. And so much has been made in the fandom about differing opinions when it comes to... Here, let me take these off here. Let me take these silly things off here. So much has been made in the fandom recently about edition wars. You know, what game is best. You know, who is playing D&D the right way, who is playing D&D the wrong way. Also, when you bring in all the talk of Critical Role, is Critical Role good for the game? Is Critical Role bad for the game? It seems like, oh my God, the community is falling apart, right? And you figure, how could we get like this? Well, I found something very interesting. So I'm a part of a D&D TTRPG Book of the Month Club. And they send out a lot of different books. Well, I got this book right here. Different Worlds, the magazine of role-playing games. Now, it was produced in April, May of 1980. And what do you know, in it, one of the articles, it was an op-ed. Let me just turn to the right page here. I don't have a camera on it because I figured you guys don't really want to look at words on text, words on the page. So I'm just gonna read it to you. It's gonna be our new reading for tonight. Callista says she loves artifact lore. Yeah, me too. Oh, and there's so much of it in the second edition. Second edition and third edition was really heavy in the lore books, but luckily for you, I bought. And all the PDFs we're going to look at tonight are available on drivethrurpg.com. Anywhere from the $3 to $5 range for the PDF. That's where I got them. It's worth every penny. Some of them you can get print on demand. I think the last time I checked, the Book of Artifacts that we're going to look at was available on demand. So you should definitely check out DriveThruRPG and the DM's Guild. So anyway, I was looking through this book, and there's an article written by Larry DiTillo on page 36 entitled System Snobbery. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, the war of words never changes. Apparently, our little feud in the community that we've been having going on for a while on Facebook and across the social media sphere is not new. Apparently, the only tradition that has survived the years has been the tradition of smack-talking other editions in the way other people want to play the game. So you know what? We're going to take a look at that article. But first, let's get a little house cleaning out of the way. By house cleaning, I mean, obviously, we're going to talk some channel stuff. So first of all, I'd like to thank Landon for coming on last week and talking Encanto. That was a lot of fun. Tying in Encanto with D&D, talking about what we liked about Encanto, what we didn't, all that sort of thing. I really enjoyed the conversation. I hope you guys got a chance to go back and watch it. If you didn't, go take a look. It was a lot of fun. And I'm still working on the what I believe to be the real story behind Encanto. That's going to be coming up. So, show notes. There's still time to win. The Polyhedra Paradise tumbler is now finished. We've got our logo on this side, Polyhedra Paradise Live on that side. All you need to do to be entered to win this is leave a comment on one of our videos, one of our newer videos, and we've extended it to next week. We've also added an additional second place prize, a set of Polyhedra Paradise stickers. So our initial winner is going to get the Polyhedra Paradise tumbler, and then we'll have a second drawing. And that person will receive some stickers. Also, I've reached out to some of you in the community who have expressed interest in getting these stickers, and I will in fact be sending them out this weekend. If anybody else watching wants a set of stickers and is willing to kick out some shekels for them, cheap, just like a little bird, cheap. Let me know, leave a comment. I will find out how to mail them to you. There's a limited number available, so jump on yours while you can. Let's see what else. Oh, coming up this Sunday on Burk the Nerd's Twitch channel, we are going to be having a discussion about D&D the series. What we would like to see in a D&D series, what would work, what wouldn't. I don't have a time for that stream, but stay tuned to the Burk the Nerd for more information, and keep it tuned here to our Twitter something like that, some socials, and we will be able to get that information to you too. Speaking of socials and all of our links, pinned at the top of the chat is our link tree. All of our socials are accessible through there. And also, if you haven't noticed, we've been rebanded Polyhedra Paradise Live. There's only so much longer I'm going to talk about this and draw attention to it, and then I'm going to stop talking about it. So this is now the live channel. We have a evergreen content channel, which is just Polyhedra Paradise. If you want to get to that, please subscribe to that. I have a big video coming out on Death's Head Tree. It is going to be on that channel. If you follow the link tree, it is the first link. Subscribe to that. You're sitting at 16 subscribers. I have a special surprise for the 25th subscriber. I'm not going to tell you what that surprise is because I haven't figured it out yet. But it's going to be a surprise for both me and the subscriber. So once we hit the 25, I will surprise everybody, including myself. So let's see. Without further ado, because I know we're kicking on 8:43, and I really want to read you guys this article. So I think this deserves a little low key music. So let's kick it down a little notch. Maybe go a little dark and ambient. Things just got real. Things just got real. Laura has a question. Yes, Laura. Before I get into this, ask away, dear. Laura, hi. Good to see you. Good to see you. What is Laura's question? Are you supposed to be Shaggy? Oh, Scoob, we're really in it now. Are you talking about this? Well, there was I got into a fight with a razor this week, and the carpet no longer matched the drapes, so to speak. No, I'm just kidding. Actually, I'm going to take this ridiculous looking thing off. I was waiting for somebody to notice and address it. Yeah, I'll take that off. All right, so anyway, I spend a lot of time in the TTRPG community and the D&D community on Facebooks and Twitter and stuff like that, and I generally keep my mouth shut. I really don't like to talk too much, but there is a huge amount of infighting for anybody who knows about edition wars. Like Pathfinder is way better than Dungeons and Dragons. It's a far superior game. Or you have all these people who think 5th edition is the best game ever, and anybody who doesn't like 5th edition is just a grognard who is insensitive. And then you have a whole bunch of old people that are like, the only school is the old school. There is no other school. And then you have people like, have you seen Vox Machina? Vox Machina is fantastic. Now, for those who don't know, Vox Machina is... Pinky says, ruh-roh. Love you too, girl. Love you too, Laura. Vox Machina is the cartoon that is released from the vaults of Critical Role. Critical Role is one of the largest D&D streamers. They put D&D streaming on the map. It existed before then, but Matt Mercer and company have really brought it into the mainstream. Yes, it is. It's crazy. The fans are crazy. It happens everywhere. I've come to find out, it's a little bit of a tangent, that the term fan really has become what the term originally was created for, fanatic. Now it's almost like if you are not fanatical about your love of whatever your thing is, then people don't consider you a real fan. And it's just funny that the term fan comes from the word fanatic, but people are so fanatical and they hold their opinions so tightly that they are so much infighting, even in the TTRPG community, D&D community. So anyway, as I was saying, the Critical Role, biggest D&D streamers. Some people hate Critical Role for existing. Some people think Critical Role is the example of how you play the game, and everybody butts heads and fights. And I'm watching, and I'm thinking, I'm like, how did we get here? This game, we're supposed to love this game. Like, is this game supposed to bring everybody together? Of course, I mean, it drove everybody apart when I was a kid, but that was just because we were nerds back then. But we wanted everybody to play. Now everybody's playing. You figure everybody be happy. This thing that we played that everybody shunned us for has now become mainstream. Why isn't everybody happy? Why doesn't everybody appreciate it? I'm like, we are falling apart. I can't believe, I don't know how we got here. But we didn't just get here. after I got this book, this gave me an entirely new outlook on where we it gave me an entirely new outlook on where we are. We are where we've always been. So this is going to be a little long-winded, and for the duration of this, it's only 2.5 pages. So I do want to read it its entirety, and while I'm reading it, I won't be as chat active because I intend on clipping this out and using this as just putting this out as a separate video. So pardon me if I don't if I'm not too chat active while I'm reading this. So here goes. So it's commentary by Larry Tillow entitled System Snobbery. Now, if anybody has any questions, well, no. I'll explain some of these things that you may not know as we go. So this is by Larry Tillow. Let me hydrate here real quick. All right. The moon promised to be silvery full. My two most devoted campaign players had recently moved to San Francisco from Angel City, and in 1 week I managed to crank out a quickie article on sex fantasies that netted me $500. For these dubious reasons, I decided to attend GrimCon 79 in Oakland, a 400-mile trek from my home base in LA. It is not GrimCon I intend to scribble about here, but rather a certain happenings at GrimCon that set my brain box into overdrive. For those of you who did not make to GrimCon this year, I will say I had 3 highly satisfactory days of roleplay. The people were all very nice, and I'd probably try to make the next one, assuming my sex fantasies hold out. You could tell this was written in 79. People don't bring up sex fantasies in role-playing game magazines anymore. You're not allowed to. All right. I was somewhat late for the opening of GrimCon, about 3 hours in fact. When I did arrive at the registration table, it had just closed down so they could complete lists of the people playing in official tournaments and such. Some people tend to holler a lot in such situations. I myself don't. I cultivated a lot of patience dealing with unemployment lines and welfare offices in my star-crossed salad days, so a slight delay in signing up for GameCon doesn't provoke me. Basically saying he's not a Karen. While waiting to turn loose of my money, I passed the time by reading over the scheduled convention events. Right off the Balrog, I noted an absence of a certain game system on the list, particularly Dungeons & Dragons and Tunnels & Trolls. Sidebar, Tunnels & Trolls was one of the contemporary games about the time Dungeons & Dragons was gaining in popularity. The tournament dungeon was not categorized at all, but I later discovered it was Aurodin, as the majority of the planned dungeons. Chasm was running numerous RuneQuest adventures, and there was a mention of a new entry into the field called the Endless Abyss, which I got no opportunity to participate in. It was scheduled for 8 a.m. Sunday morning. Like most of the writers, I drank, therefore abhor that hour. I like this guy. I was a bit surprised by the omission of D&D, and not too surprised at Tunnels & Trolls, since it seems to be unfortunate circumstances at most conventions. However, it made sense when you consider that the con was under the auspices of the Multiversal Trading Company and Grimoire Games, who, shall we say, are rivals in the FRP world with TSR Hobbies. TSR, it was Gary Gygax and Dave Arneson's company, mostly Gary Gygax, Tactical Studies Rules. I think most of you probably know that. Okay, my theory is whoever wants to do the mountains of work necessary to put on a convention should offer what they like, stressing any system they prefer. If you don't want D&D, Travelers, Chivalry and Sorcery, or Bushido, fine and dandy. As we used to say in New York, it bees that way sometimes. On the other hand, while hovering around the registration desk the next day, I overheard a startling piece of news. No one was signing up for official runs. I was warglogged by this, since at DundraCon 4, I never got near an official run, other than my own. What was the matter with the 300-odd people attending? Were they all too chintzy to part with the $2? I don't know, and the con honchos were really in the dark as well. They were actually recruiting people for dungeons, even if you had already gotten your 2 bananas worth, with the single exception of the elimination tournament if you had already been eliminated. I popped my shaggy skull into the open gaming room, thinking it was some sort of answer might lie therein. It was jumping. Numerous games were in progress at every table. What games? Well, mostly D&D. Aha! There was the ticket. Despite the emphasis on the con organizers on other systems, a whole horde of D&Ders were in attendance, and it seemed logical to assume that if they couldn't plunk down $2 to play D&D, then they'd stick to open gaming where they could. System snobbery had struck, and it had left the good folks at Grimcon with plenty of prizes and no players. I might, of course, be wrong about this, and you're welcome to disagree, but not right now. I've got a few more trolls to tackle on this issue, so patience, Pedro, the point is coming. On the second day of the con, I was in the dealer's room powwowing with some old acquaintances, and I let drop that I was looking forward to running a dungeon at the next DundraCon. What sort of dungeon, I was asked. Oh, an advanced D&D scenario, was my answer. This comment followed from a guy I really like, who should know better. D&D? I think D&D could... I didn't think D&D could advance. Appreciative chuckles from his mates followed. I refrained from joining in. System snobbery creeps upon me on the feet of squishy clay. Suddenly, I, who am only interested in good RPGing, find myself looking down upon for the system I use to provide that. Listen, gang, I am an old hand at this. I got into the FRP through Tunnels and Trolls, and those of you who play it know what I mean. You go to a con, sit down to run a pleasant life or death filled labyrinth, and the minute some eager face is asking you if you have an opening. Sure, you say, but I should tell you that we're playing Tunnels and Trolls. Oh, that? Replies the now not too eager face, contempt as thick as iron icicles in his tone. Yes, indeed, I know this well, and it still makes me damn mad. I told you my point was coming, and this is in the incident that I had in mind here. There is no perfect, best, or even better system of FRP. Nowadays, we would call them TTRPGs. This is where the tie-in is. The attitude that there has no foundation, and what's more harmful to the whole concept of an FRP. At the very least, it closes off the minds to what is good in respective systems, while at the very worst, it engenders incidents like this. At DundraCon 4, Steve Perrin invited me to run a Tunnels and Trolls dungeon. This meant I lugged a horde of equipment from LA to San Francisco, did several weeks of refurbishing my dungeon, and in general did my damnedest to ensure those who kindly chose to play my game would be given their money's worth. The run was scheduled for Sunday at 7 p.m. An hour before this, a con rep came up to me and asked me why I had canceled my dungeon. Well, ballistics and bare bosoms, I hadn't. Nevertheless, someone at the convention had scrawled canceled across my sign-up sheet. There could only be one reason as I saw it. Some system snob had decided it would be funny to ruin a game that he did not like to play. It is unfortunate that I never discovered this sucker's identity, since I am very sure I could have changed his mind concerning what is funny. Once he regained consciousness, it'll please you, Tunnels and Trolls buffs, to know that I managed to salvage that run-through quick action, that it was great fun. Take that, you sicko system snob. You see what I mean, nevertheless, about harm. Sorry. Now, what in the name of ethical plane brings about system snobbery? Frankly, Scarlett, I don't know. I'm aware of the feuds between designers, especially where a certain E. Gary is concerned, and this might have a lot to do with it. At the time, sidebar, Gary Gygax and Dave Arneson were in the middle of a knockdown, drag-out court battle over who had the rights to be considered the creator of Dungeons & Dragons. So, and Gary was very vocal. Assuredly, some of his ponderous assertions deserve vitriolic salvos in return, but it's more reasonable to vent your spleen on the man himself rather than the game system he espouses. The same is true of every designer. Their personal viewpoints must be separated from their creations. That's an interesting point. Back then, the personal viewpoints of the creator were separate from their creations, and I find now, retroactively, the personal viewpoints of the system creators is very much linked to their creation. So that there's a point of difference nowadays, as compared to this writer's opinion. Let's see. I've run through Dungeons and Dragons, Tunnels and Trolls, art and mazes, and scenarios that are an amalgam of several systems. Some have been great, some have been capital B boring, but never have I considered the system to be at fault, only the GM using it. A GM has to rely on his or her own imagination to bring life and color to the game, and not on any particular set of mechanics. Let me illustrate this by tipping my hat to the two best GMs I have ever played with. The first is Mr. Ken St. Andre, the designer of Tunnels and Trolls, and the second is Mrs. Hilary Powers, whose Jester's Palace dungeon was a mind-blasting delight, even though I got to play only an hour in it, replacing a youngster who was forced to leave at Dura Con 4. Ken naturally uses his own system, and those of you who want to scoff at Tunnels and Trolls should think twice if you ever had the chance to run with Ken. He is fiendish, clever, and humorous, and he's resourceful, and his dungeons reflect it. The fact that he rolls nothing but six-sided die, or that his spells are written more simply than in any other systems aside from RuneQuest, has nothing to do with it. Tunnels and Trolls works in his hands because he knows how to play. Mrs. Powers, on the other hand, employs a mixed system, incorporating elements from D&D, Otterun, and I believe RuneQuest as well, all augmented by the fact that she is a fighting lady of the SCA. Her personal choice of mechanics makes for a good game, not because it's inherently superior, but solely because she happens to be a fantastic role-playing GM. GM will trump system every day of the week. My short glimpse of her career, my short glimpse of her crazy color-splashed universe has sent me reeling, and I'd fight a score type of 89 demons with a negative 5 cursed sword just to have a crack at a full run with her. What is more than obvious amidst all the lavish laurel bustering is that either of these two people will provide you with an enjoyable, rewarding RPG, no matter what system they prefer. What is less obvious is that in their FRP careers, these two fine folk have been receptive to all systems. A way of thinking that is a sure cure for system snobbery. I give all thanks and praise to Steve Perrin for RuneQuest, to Dave Hargrave for Otterun, for Ken St. Andre for Tunnels and Trolls, and yes, to Gary Gygax and Dave Arneson for Dungeons and Dragons. There's no doubt I will be praising and thanking Ed Simbliss as well whenever I get around to Chivalry and Sorcery. Everybody loved their ampersands back in the day. Side note, I'm a sucker for a good ampersand. But I digress. I give them thanks and praise, and I am a devoted FRP gamer, and every one of their designs aided me personally in my own world building. I am not an idiot enough to consider any of these games better than the other. It just ain't so, Joe. Each system has high points, each has drawbacks. None of them is any good without imagination, and none of them is any good without an imaginative human being playing them. So what am I asking? What am I asking those that design RPGs and who play them? Stop knocking games they don't care to play because of personal prejudice or economic ego. There is room for everybody. I am not telling you to stop criticizing flaws in design. This is good and necessary. Rather, I am suggesting that blackballing an entire system because you don't like certain aspects of it is not criticism, it's childish ignorance. I would like to see an RPG grow and thrive. It won't if potentially good GMs and players come to conventions and are made to feel that the game they are playing is for some arcane reason unworthy. Let's stop bickering about what set of melee rules is more realistic and strive to encourage a more fantastic non-combat encounters. I like to hack away at dragons, warbats, and gelatinous cubes as much as anyone, but I also enjoy trading banter as well as blows. Give me a two-headed talking goat who likes old jokes, a slinky sorceress with lust in her heart, or a mad monk smoking a hookah full of rainbows, and I'm happy no matter what system you use. The concept of role-playing is such that nobody can nail down what is best or most preferable. We have to meld our systems, take in the entire spectrum, and learn to play as many as our minds can absorb, even if we choose to GM just one. If you refuse, then stop lashing out at people for their one true way garbage. Your one true way is just as false, so listen up, crew. Go out there and plunk down your shekels to support gaming, and not one game. Give everything a shot. Arterin, D&D, Tunnels and Trolls, Castles and Sorceries, RuneQuest, or anything else. The broader your scope of roleplay, the better you'll play. Defeat system snobbery while you still can. That was written back in 1980, and by golly, it is just as relevant today. So I encourage everybody out there, stop looking down on grognards because they played the old systems and grognards. Stop telling people that the old school is the only school, because there's plenty to be learned from the new players coming into the game. Stop looking down on people who play independent systems because they're not the big boys. They're not D&D. They're not Pathfinder. And Pathfinder and D&D, why not expand your playing knowledge and try out some other systems? Don't stick to just one system. And remember, what makes a great role-playing game is what you bring to the table, not what you read out of a book. Those are always going to be different. There is no best system out there. Experiment with the rules at your table, and players, whatever you do, don't stick to rules as written. Experiment with them. Play with the different rules. Combine different rules and make the game your own, because that's when you make it. That's when it is the most enjoyable, and that's when it's the most true. So I'm going to jump down off my soapbox. Oh, and all you people who don't like Critical Role just because it's popular, come on, man. I'm sure those people are fantastic. I'm sure the critters mean well. It is a lot of people's first introduction to D&D. So let them have their fun. Let them enjoy Vox Machina. Let them enjoy all the stuff that Matt Mercer and company bring to the table. And all you critters, if somebody says they don't like Matt Mercer and they don't like Critical Role, just let them have that. You know, it's not all their cup of tea, but somebody's not hating just because they don't like something. So I guess what I'm saying is, what we're experiencing now ain't new. I don't think it's ever going to stop, but just try to be more open-minded when you're playing RPGs, because at the end, it's all about having fun, baby. It's all about having fun. All right, so that's my soapbox for today. I know it was a little long, but I really read that, and it just like shocked me. I was like, oh my God, that's still a problem. All right, so I'm gonna get back to the chat here, and I'm a little behind. All right, let's see. Are there any updates on D&D Basics video? Yeah. I mean, I can do one, Laura. A lot of people are doing it. I can point you into some directions if you want to look at a Basics video, or I could do one. If anybody wants me to do D&D Basics video, just let me know. I can do one. Callisto. Yeah, it was crazy stuff in there. So she says, have you seen the kind of things the author talks about personally? Great article. Yeah, I have. Noah says, what's up, bro? What's up, Noah? What's up, buddy? I have seen a lot of system snobbery, and I've seen a lot of people talk about how 5th edition is completely trash, and the way they're moving away from, the way they're giving you rules for solving encounters without combat, and they're moving to focusing on a lot more story-driven ways to resolve games and situations. A lot of people don't like that, but I like it. I'm not sure that I think everything needs a rule. Like, I don't think that social encounters need to be like hard and fast. I think a lot of that, and maybe it's because I've been playing for so long, a lot of that can be done by feel, and a lot of that I think needs to be left up to the DM's discretion. And the funny thing is, 5th edition leaves a lot up to the Dungeon Master's discretion, and that's a double-edged sword, because a lot of new players don't have the experience to know what their own discretion is, so they need like a set of hard and fast rules. And I think that's what the game designers at Wizards of the Coast are looking at. You know, for a lot of new players just getting into this, they need to have their hands held a little bit when it comes to making decisions. But a lot of older players are like, why? I don't need this. Well, the game isn't just for older players anymore. It's for new ones. And I think 5th edition does a pretty good job of keeping that in mind. And I've seen a lot of people that won't step outside of their comfort zone and play other games. Pathfinder and D&D, because Pathfinder is basically like D&D 3.75, because it took what everybody loved about 3.5 edition and created its own system. Like, there's a huge like Pathfinder D&D button heads thing going on. All right, so I'll leave it up to you guys. So Do you guys want to take a look at the update to Dungeon Alchemist? Or do you want to dive into the Book of Artifacts? You guys get 10 seconds to decide. I have them both pulled up. All right. So let's see. You know what? Let's take a look at Dungeon Alchemist, because I am super excited about Dungeon Alchemist. All right. Oh, Book of Artifacts is up. Okay. I guess we're looking at the Book of Artifacts. So this is the cover art, Dungeons & Dragons 2nd Edition Book of Artifacts. To say what you want about 2nd Edition, say what you want about 2nd Edition, they had some awesome artwork. 5th Edition's afraid of boobs. Man's or women's. And his boobs are almost as big as hers. So, alright, first I'll give you a breakdown of all the settings that are these artifacts are compatible with. You got the Forgotten Realms, of course you know what that is. They give you, and it's nice to give you a little breakdown of what each one of them are. So Forgotten Realms, Ravenloft, Dark Sun, Alkadim, Greyhawk, Dragonlance. So those were just the main ones. I guess this was before Spelljammer and Planescape came out. So, all right. So there's advertisement. Book of Artifacts, designed by Zeb Cook. Artifact design: Rich Baker, Wolfgang Burr, Steve and Glenda Burns, Bill Connors, Dale Henson, Mike McComb, Thomas Reed, and David Wise. Zeb Cook could, man, he could design a book, man. All right. So right here you've got, you've got the table of contents here. So we're gonna take a look at, let's see. We'll take a look at about 3 artifacts. So it says here, welcome to the big book of artifacts. Within these pages is one of the most amazing, diverse, and colorful collections of arcane magic ever assembled for AD&D campaign. Before we get started, though, it's time to clear up a few misconceptions. Artifacts are too powerful for a campaign. Not true. Artifact does not mean immensely powerful. The Herald of Meilung is useful, but it can't blast anyone to ashes the way the Axe of Emperors might. It's not the power, but the history and the role-playing opportunities that really make the difference. All artifacts have horrible curses that keep them from being useful. All artifacts have side effects that reflect their nature, but not all side effects are curses. The fiend trapped in the acorn of Womai is definitely evil, and freeing him would be a bad thing. The truthfulness imposed by the Crown of Law isn't evil, although it may create difficulties for the player character. These side effects create opportunities for the role-playing, as characters are faced with choices, changes, and dilemmas that great power brings. With prudence and good judgment, most artifacts can be used safely by PCs, but only by testing their mettle. That is something that older... Here I'm talking about system sovereignty, but this is just an observation. That is something that older editions did really well. They like to challenge their players. 5th edition is very much a different game in that you really can't, they don't want you to have a whole lot of negatives. No, it says the artist that did the cover seems a little bit thirsty. Yeah, they were all just thirsty back in the day. I like my games with a lot of side effects and a lot of negatives. Let's see. Artifacts are found only in Greyhawk campaign. The first articles did appear in the Greyhawk setting, and most of those are found here, but the Greyhawk world has no lock on artifacts. All the favorites and many new ones appear in this book, suitable for any campaign. There are also artifacts designed for the Forgotten Realms, Dragonlance, Dark Sun, Spelljammer, Ravenloft, and Alkadim. Let's see. If characters stumble across an artifact, it could ruin the campaign. So this is something I still hear today. You have to be careful how often you interject or introduce an artifact into the game, because it can be game breaking. It'll break your game. Well, first of all, it's not a cartridge. Nobody can really actually break the game. And as a GM, like, you should have total control. If you put something in your game that breaks it, then you can just fix it. You could blip that artifact out of existence in a second's notice if you wanted to. There is nothing you can give to players that you can't ungive them at any given moment. So if you give them something, you're like, that was ridiculously powerful, a portal opens up in their bag of holding. Well, we couldn't do it in the bag of holding. A portal opens up and sucks whatever that item back into some other dimension, poof, problem solved. There's always a way to get an artifact back from a player after you've given it to him. Landon, hello, buddy. Good to see you, Landon. Good to see you. I was telling everybody about our encounter talk. Really appreciate it. I had a great time. It was good to see you here, buddy. We'll go back with that. If the character stumbled across an artifact, it could ruin the campaign. Purely and simple, nobody ever stumbles upon an artifact. Artifacts are special. No one just finds them lying around. There are no treasure tables for artifacts. They do not appear in random treasure piles. In fact, the only time characters can find an artifact is when the DM wants them to. It's assumed that the characters won't be giving an artifact unless the DM is ready to deal with it. Again, back to my point. If you give it to them and it's a mistake, pull that puppy back. In fact, I was dealing with that with one of my players in the Mondays campaign, where I, for some reason, saw fit to put a deck of many things in somebody's pocket just for the heck of it, right? So, Bronan and the group went and totally wiped out a group of high-level sorcerers that I thought it would be funny to give these items to, and of course they wiped them out. Bronan found the deck of many things. So now he's rolling around with the deck of many things, with just any moment he could pull from and totally summon a demon that's after the entire party. He could end up losing levels. He could end up automatically gaining levels. He could be given a castle. There's so many things that can happen with the deck of many things that, if left unchecked, yes, that can be campaign breaking. But also, at any time, he could reach into his pocket for the deck, and it's not there anymore. Just gone. So never be afraid. Yeah, the DM taketh and the DM giveth. All right. So those are just some of the introductions in here. So let's take a look at some of the more interesting ones. There's some more art. Get your classic art, the wizards and the spell book, and the classic art is so nice. I prefer the classic art to like the more, what am I thinking? Anime style art. So, let's see. This is the thing about artifacts. Artifacts cheat. They can not be what they're supposed to be. You know, the artifacts never tell you the truth. Artifacts are born, not made. Any wizard or priestess worth their salt can make a magic item. They get a bunch of materials, research a few spells, lock themselves away in a corner tower. Poof, bang, bingo. There's a magic items. While the material list and steps needed may be a mystery, the process itself is not mysterious. Everyone knows spellcasters like magic items, and no one is surprised when Jarlaco the Magnificent comes out with a +1 longsword. Artifacts, though, are not just things. They quickly take on a life of their own, and it's better to imagine the artifact as being born rather than built. Birth implies mystery. It implies strangeness. It implies wonder beyond a mere manufacturing process. As much as the characters like to, nobody in the present history of a campaign makes an artifact. Artifacts always come from times more distant and centuries way in the past. Sometimes the maker and the circumstances of the device creation are well known. More often, however, the history of who did what was done, and it's left to vague uncertainty. There's always a good thing to consider. Always keep your artifacts mythical. They're supposed to be artifacts. All right, so let's see. Every artifact has a tale. Every artifact has a price, and the price isn't always monetary. And look, the old maxim, with great power comes great responsibility. Old Spider-Man tie-in right there in a book. In a D&D book from back in the day. All right, so not all prices are paid in gold. All right, so I know there's all the boring stuff, but now we're getting into the meat. But what I liked about these books is that they really went in depth. The different powers are artifacts. Every artifact has a unique set of powers that can be divided into 5 categories: constant, invoked, random, resonating, and cursed. Now keep in mind, these are 2nd edition rules. A lot of this stuff doesn't necessarily apply to 5th edition because it's not as robust. But by all means, like we talked about in the last article, take from different systems. You could always take the rules for artifacts with little tweakage. You could implement them in a 5th edition game. Callista's right. The DM giveth and the DM taketh away. That would be a great campaign title. I think it's like every DM's campaign title. At least in their heart. In their heart it is. So the 5 different powers are constant. These powers take effect without the character having to do anything other than hold the artifact. Sample constant powers are armor class of 5, continual true seeing, or an additional experience level for the owner. There's the invoked powers. These powers require the character to do something. Perhaps as simple as willing it, shout a command word, pushing a button, or reading a page. Invoked powers also have limitations on the number of uses, such as like spell charges. Yeah, you know, I mean, basically spell charges. Random. These powers are left to the DM to define. The section lists appropriate tables from Appendix B, random power tables. So D&D loves their tables. Resonating, these powers only appear when 2 or more pieces of a matched set, such as the eye and the hand of Vecna, are joined. Resonating powers seldom occur and must be constant, invoked, or random. It's like getting the entire rod of 7 parts together, or the hand and the eye of Vecna. The Voltron powers combine, and something greater comes out of the 2 parts. Curse. Every artifact has drawbacks that reflect its nature or history. These are not all evil, but things that force a particular set of behaviors. The 2 special curses mentioned earlier can be included: artifact possession and artifact transformation. Should either of these apply, the item's goals or final transformation is described here. So they can change you or possess you in some cases. Hold on one second. That is all knowing Asama. Apparatus. Here we go. Apparatus, or the alchemist apparatus, sometimes known, best described from the notebooks of Maester Derek. Basically, what the apparatus is, what is responsible for. Oh, Calista has a question. Can the DM set parameters on specific artifacts, such as how many times it can be used, or how long to hold it, etc.? Yes. DM has final say on whatever occurs. So if you have a artifact that has a set of rules and it doesn't necessarily work for you, or they're left ambiguous, the DM can set whatever parameters they want. And it's actually a good idea to do that, because if your players have the books, a lot of books, and they're well versed in these items, then it gives the DM a chance to throw them a curveball. Always remember, as a player, though, the DM does have final say in those things. So if it doesn't, what is going on in your game doesn't necessarily jive with what you know about. Oh, cough button. Hang on. I feel a cough coming. So as a player, if what you're experiencing at the table doesn't necessarily jive with what you know to be the case, that's most likely because the DM has played with it a little bit to make it more of his own. don't throw a book down and say that's not what it says in this book, because no matter what you know as a player, chances are your character in game doesn't know that. And the easy way to get around that is you say, that doesn't seem right. Is that what my character knows this artifact to be? And maybe your DM would probably call for you to make a Arcana check or a History check on that item. And then if you rolled high enough, the DM would be like, yes, that is what you know, or no, it doesn't. So yeah, the DM can definitely change anything that he wants, and I would suggest doing so. Basically, what the apparatus is, I'm not going to read it too in depth. This is what takes your soul and it bifurcates it. So, like when Strahd used the apparatus, he was using it as a way to try to escape Ravenloft, and he thought that him as a vampire, if he went and he separated his soul from his body, well, of course he was a vampire, but if he could bifurcate himself, thus leaving a part of his soul trapped in Ravenloft and the other part of his consciousness able to walk out of the domains of dread and basically free himself from his imprisonment by using the apparatus. And it didn't work, needless to say. In fact, the second Ravenloft module was all about the apparatus, and Aslan actually ended up using the apparatus too. So it for this little piece here, the first known construction of the apparatus was one known as the Alchemist of Mordenshire, although this person is sometimes confused with the Count Strahd von Zarovich, another who figures in this tale. The tale says that the alchemist created the apparatus in order to divide a soul and purge it of evil, or as others maintain, to fuse his own incomplete soul with another. Whatever his goal, the alchemist's ambitions became ensnared in those of Strahd, and later disaster occurred, destroying the apparatus and its maker. So that was the whole plot line behind the House on Griffin Hill, the second Ravenloft module. So let's see, I'm just going to speed run through some of these. So you know what, since we're getting close on time and I really want to look at the Dungeon Alchemist, I will just recommend that if you want to take a look at a good book, taking a deep dive into a whole bunch of different artifacts, in the second edition of D&D, recommend going and taking a look at the second edition Book of Artifacts. It's available for $5-ish on DriveThruRPG. You can get it in print on demand, I believe, for $17. The last time I checked. It's a great read, even if you don't play. If you like reading about magic items, I wholeheartedly recommend you take a look at it. So, and I think what I might do sometime, if anybody's interested, message me on Discord. Link to my Discord is through the link tree. Maybe what we can do, since I don't really have the time to go super in depth, maybe we could do a stream for just those interested. We can go page by page and really dive into each one of these artifacts. If anybody's interested, hit me up on Discord. Maybe we can set something up so I'm not, taking up everybody's time, because not everybody likes to get read to on stream. So, you know what? Do that. If you're interested, leave a comment, get a hold of me somehow, and we can set something up to go through this whole thing and take a deep dive. So now look, we are going to take a look at the last thing for tonight. We're going to look at the Dungeon Alchemist map making program and their update. So let's go back here real quick. Oops, wrong video. Wrong thing. So, how's everybody doing? Everybody still with me? Everybody still good? Good. Dungeon Alchemist is a AI-based map-making software that I'm involved in the beta with right now. And the last time I tried to do this, I actually ended up crashing the stream. Me, I love artifact lore, especially in Forgotten Realms. Listen, I would. Yes, let me know. We'll set up a night and we'll do a deep dive. You can host. So it's map making, AI map making software. Last time I tried to show it on the stream, I actually crashed the computer because it uses a lot of memory. So tonight, hopefully, I will do a better job. We're just going to go through, take a look at some of the basic items from making the software, from the map maker, and then take a look at what's new in the update. So let me get back to this screen. So right here, basically, you got your 5x5 squares. Good old 5x5. Noah says, I'm taking the book from you and reading it sometime too. And I can put it on the Kindle. You can use the Kindle, I just can't print it out. It's like 166 pages. But heck yeah, you can read it. So these are 5x5 squares. And over here on the left-hand side, we've got the different types of AI rooms. We've got Castle, Crypt, Festive. Oh, Festive. That's new. Mansion, Outdoors, Tavern, and Village. So let's see what's infested. Yeah, Festive. Gingerbread house. Who wants to build a gingerbread house? That's going to be the first thing we do. So I'm going to zoom out here. Oops. So zooming out here, you can see it's basically a bigger map. Let's build us a gingerbread house. So all we do to use this software is we just map out the length and the width. Let go of the button. It sets our side. We hit check, and then the AI software auto-populates it. And there's our gingerbread house. Simple as that. Zoom in, zoom down here. So this must have been a Christmas thing. Oh my goodness, yes. Look at the icing walls. Way. So that's cool. So there's going down to our basement. Because it's a little late in the season for this. Let's move our candles here. We'll put them right on top of the bolts so that way it catches fire. And here's corner stairs going up. Okay, that's cool. We'll set that there. There's corner stairs going up. So now we got a basement and a second story. Oh, let's move this a little closer to the window. We do that. Get rid of that window. There we go. All right. So that's a gingerbread house. That is new. Christmas tree. I guess I must have missed this around Christmas time because I don't think I was really using it. Okay, so we get this really large gingerbread house, right? And we're gonna make this the center of our town. The gingerbread house has taken over as the town center. So let's go back to drawing rooms. All right. Let's see, village. Okay, so this is what's new. The village is new. Because we've got alley, bakery, cemetery, farmstead, field, garden, park, smithy, and a town square. All right, let's make a big town square right off of our gingerbread house. I'm really gonna zoom out. Oh, this is the problem I was having last time. I may have asked it to do too much. May have asked it to do too. Oh, there it goes. There's our town square. Let's see what's interesting on the town square here. What separates the town square from the regular garden? I changed view. Go to 3D. Oh, that's neat. So I guess the town square sets it up so you've got gallows, waterfalls, a little bit of a garden. All right, so let's zoom out. I'm gonna go for about 5 more minutes, guys, and then I'm gonna cut the stream because it's getting a little late. I'm gonna have to get the kids to bed and stuff. So let's finish making our new town. So off of the town square, let's put the smithy here. It's a pretty decent sized smithy. Remember, each one of these squares that I'm putting in is like 5 feet. So basically this place is 5, 10, 15, 20. It's like 40 by 50 feet. I mean, it's a pretty large smithy. All right, so that's right off the town square. Let's zoom down in here. And this is just the bones. Remember, when we go and really get into it, we can change so much stuff. Let's try the alley now, since alley is And boom, look, guys, in just 5 minutes, which is really all we've been making this, we've got a gingerbread house. Let me zoom in here. We got a gingerbread house at the center of our town. And we've got our town square. Oops. We've got our town square, and we can back out to our little village that we're building out over here. And we'll save it. And we can save that and we can come back to it later. But let's see, stream. We'll save it. Stream build. And like that, in a matter of a few minutes, if you need to put together this is a random town without too much thought, because of the AI software, it is a snap. It is so easy to do. And I'm at the amount of, let's get back up to the main part here so I can see it back. So you can literally make it as detailed as you want, or you can just cobble it together real quick, and you can make yourself a city in a matter of a half hour. It is fantastic. You're very good at this, though. I'm sure it would take me 5 hours, not 5 minutes. It's really simple with the software. Like, if you really wanted to get into the woods and everything, into the weeds, yeah, you can really spend a lot of time on it. But if you just I need a few random houses, but I don't want to just go buy somebody's pre-made houses, it is so useful. I know I keep hinting at it, and I keep having little streams where I show little bits. But I'd like to, at some point, just do a complete dedicated stream to it, because it is so much fun. And if the Dungeon Alchemist folks are watching this, I stand Dungeon Alchemist like so hard. I love your software. I'm proud to be a part of the beta, and I believe it's getting released to the public in sometime in May of this year. I will tell everybody I know that they need to buy it. So, guys, thanks for. I'm gonna get off here, and I'm gonna let you guys get back to your lives. Thank you guys so much for coming and hanging out to me tonight. I want to thank Noah, Laura, Landon for stopping by. Callisto, thanks as always. You guys are great. Binky, Brittany, thank you so much for stopping by and watching the show. We talked about the Book of Artifacts. We talked about people hating each other and hating other systems being nothing new. Hopefully we can get over that, but I don't think we will. And we took a look at the Dungeon Alchemist updates and stuff and built a little bit of a town. Remember, if you want to be entered into the drawing for the cup, comment on any one of the videos. If you want a sticker, get a hold of me. I can get them to you, and you will also be entered for winning a sticker if you leave a comment for that too. Please follow our link tree to and subscribe to the other channel, and for all of our socials. Be on the lookout for the Book of Artifacts deep read through, which will happen probably on Discord. And remember, in the game of life, may you always roll with advantage, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care of yourself and each other. Goodbye now.